Have you ever wondered if your thoughts are quietly shaping your entire life, like a hidden script you follow without even realizing it? Imagine if you could rewrite that script in just 3 days. It sounds almost too bold. 3 days to catch and transform the silent currents of your mind, steering them toward a steadier, stronger, more confident version of yourself. But here's the real surprise. The path to that transformation isn't some glossy self-help trick. It's rooted in an ancient philosophy practiced by figures like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, whose teachings have sparked both admiration and heated controversy for centuries. Modern Stoicism stands accused by some critics of being toxic positivity, ignoring genuine emotion, or offering little more than empty mantras. Yet for others, Stoicism is an ironclad discipline that built some of history's most resilient minds. How can something be hailed as a life-altering blueprint and criticized as an emotional muzzle at the same time? And if you're willing to suspend doubt for just 3 days, could a few simple but sometimes uneasy mental shifts prove which side of the debate is right? That's exactly what we're going to explore. Let's push past the shallow, just think positively slogans. Let's see what really happens when you talk to yourself with unwavering honesty and intention. No fluff, no illusions. By the end, you might discover a surprising secret about how your inner world shapes everything else. Section 1. The hidden power of self-talk. Stop for a second and listen to the voice in your head, the ongoing commentary that never seems to rest. It praises or criticizes you, and it issues running judgments about your every success and slip-up. This is the same voice that can feel strangely supportive one moment and brutally harsh the next. Some people dismiss it as background noise, but Stoics have insisted for centuries that this voice holds the blueprint of our lives. Yet, where many philosophies and self-help movements chant, "Manifest your reality," the Stoics dig much deeper. They claim that if you can direct that voice, you can navigate hardship with unshakable calm. But here's where things get controversial. Skeptics see it as repressing emotions or living in denial. They argue that negative feelings serve a purpose, and merely flipping the script might bury real problems under forced optimism. So which side has it right? The key, according to Stoic thought, isn't to pretend that negativity doesn't exist. It's to face it with clear-eyed intention. When your mind whispers, "I'm not good enough," you don't say, "Everything is perfect," and plaster on a fake grin. Instead, you methodically break down that toxic thought and replace it with something more realistic. "I can improve. I have a plan. And I'm stronger than my fears." It's not sugarcoating. It's strategic mental discipline. Just try it the next time a self-defeating thought creeps in. See what happens if you refuse to accept that old storyline and counter it right away. It may feel odd at first, almost like you're defying a lifelong habit. But that's the point. The mind can be trained or left to run wild. There's no in-between. And if you're willing to test that training for just 3 days, you might be stunned by the results. Section 2. Beyond fake positivity. Stoic principles exposed. Modern psychology has plenty to say about how repetitive self-talk rewires the brain, a concept we now call neuroplasticity. Stoics, centuries before science had the terminology, were already practicing mental exercises. Epictetus famously taught that your power lies in controlling your judgments, not the world around you. Marcus Aurelius wrote entire journals, later compiled as his meditations, to confront his own doubts and fears. Despite its ancient roots, Stoicism isn't just dusty scrolls and marble busts. It's also an approach that's been sensationalized. Some online communities push Stoicism as a license to ignore emotions altogether, fueling a rumor that Stoics must be robotic, cold, and unfeeling. Critics say it's an outdated approach to modern mental health, especially when real anxiety or trauma demands professional help rather than mantras. What people often miss is that early Stoics weren't naive about suffering. Seneca faced exile. Other Stoic thinkers were forced to off themselves due to imperial pressures. They knew life could be brutally unfair. Rather than encouraging passivity, Stoicism is a call to stand firm in the chaos. It's not about plastering a fake smile and saying, "It's all good." It's about telling yourself, "I can remain steady, even when it's not good at all." Just let that sink in. This is more than wishful thinking. It's a radical stance. While some wave it aside as too harsh or emotionally void, others see it as the purest form of personal power. So how does this translate to your own hectic schedule, your personal anxieties, your daily interactions? The answer lies in a surprisingly simple experiment. Section 3, the 3-day experiment. Step inside your own mind. Picture this. For the next 72 hours, you commit to catching each negative or limiting thought and rewriting it on the spot. No exceptions. If you stumble out of bed grumbling, "Today's going to be terrible," you pause. You challenge that statement. You refuse to let it go unchecked. You replace it with something more constructive, like, "I've faced tough situations before, and I'll handle whatever comes." At first, it can feel almost ridiculous, like you're constantly editing your own internal monologue. And some people claim this approach is no better than ignoring your problems. Yet, ironically, you're not ignoring anything. You're confronting each doubt head-on and deciding to reframe it. That's a far cry from slapping a sticky note on the mirror that says, "Be happy," while burying genuine pain underneath. If you're on social media, you may have seen these Stoic challenges pop up, trending for a few days before fading into the background. Critics say these challenges lack depth, that they're superficial hype, but those who try it in earnest often report subtle but remarkable changes in how they handle stress, setbacks, and even conflict at home or work. So why not find out for yourself? For 3 days, see how often you instinctively put yourself down, expect failure, or spiral into worry. Then consciously disrupt that pattern by inserting a new line of thought. If it feels strange, it's because you're overriding a routine your brain has run for years, and that's exactly why it works. Section 4. The overcome or be overcome dilemma. Any attempt to alter your mindset so drastically carries an inevitable backlash. You've likely heard the theory that if you bottle up emotions, anger, grief, fear, they might explode later in a wave of emotional meltdown. Is that a risk with Stoic self-talk training? Are you just burying your real feelings under a forced calm? The Stoics themselves might counter that real calm doesn't come from denying pain, but from recognizing that you decide how much power pain holds over you. If you're fuming inside over an insult, you acknowledge, "I'm angry right now," but instead of letting that anger dictate your actions, you talk to yourself with intention. What can I control right now? My thoughts, my response, my next move. You can address the problem, set boundaries, or walk away, always mindful of how your internal monologue steers your behavior. Still, some mental health experts warn that skipping genuine emotional processing is risky. A friend or therapist might say, "You're allowed to feel upset. Don't just push it down." Stoicism, in its pure form, never says you can't feel. It simply says, feel, but be the master of that feeling. In other words, self-awareness is the first step, followed by deliberate self-talk that promotes clarity instead of meltdown. Is that always easy? Of course not. Doubt, frustration, even heartbreak can cloud your mind. But the question is, in these messy moments, do you surrender all control, or do you use your mental discipline to steer your response? The critics are right about one thing. Changing your mindset can feel like a battle. Yet historically, battles aren't won by ignoring the enemy. They're won by facing it with a strategic plan. Section 5. Stoic controversies. Are we ignoring real problems? Rumors swirl around modern Stoic circles that some so-called gurus trivialize real mental health problems. You might have seen the advice, "Stop complaining, just be stoic," offered to someone dealing with serious trauma. Detractors say that is not stoicism, but a misinterpretation. an extreme oversimplification that denies the complexity of genuine psychological struggles. Take, for instance, the argument that if you just keep repeating, "I'm fine," you never address core issues that require therapy, medical attention, or radical life changes. Critics point to historical examples where forced positivity ended badly, possibly even fueling deeper personal crises. They claim Stoicism runs that risk, especially in a modern quick-fix culture. But look closer at real Stoic teachings. They never say, "Don't handle real problems." They say, "Don't let despair paralyze you. Focus on the aspects you can influence." If you're struggling financially, you don't just chant, "I'm wealthy." You also revise your spending habits, seek help, or negotiate new work opportunities. The difference is that you do it with a self-dialogue of possibility and resilience, rather than helplessness. So yes, there's a valid warning. If you're in true crisis, the discipline of Stoic self-talk should be one tool among many: professional counsel, support systems, or medical care. Stoicism is a philosophy, not a magic cure. But for everyday stresses, anxiety spirals, or that lingering dread that life is out of your control, watch how quickly your perspective shifts when you refuse to feed the fire with negative chatter. Section 6. Rewiring your reality. Neuroplasticity meets ancient wisdom. Modern neuroscientists have revealed a powerful process. Each time you repeat certain thoughts, you strengthen corresponding neural pathways. If the message you give yourself daily is "I always fail," then over time, your brain will accept that as a default setting. You might not even realize it. You'll just assume things are bound to go wrong. But the astonishing truth is that you can literally remodel your mental landscape. It's not immediate. Change requires repetition. And that's why a multi-day challenge, like the Stoic-based 3-day immersion, can be so startling. It forces you to rewrite thoughts over and over until you start to sense small but real changes. Some participants in these challenges describe the second day as the hardest. Your old thought patterns fight back, and you catch yourself slipping into negativity even more often than before. It's a common phenomenon. Think of it like rearranging a cluttered room. When you move objects around, dust flies up, and it momentarily appears worse. But push through, and you end up with a cleaner, organized space. So if you notice heightened tension on day 2, maybe you snap at someone, or you think, "This is ridiculous, I can't do it." That's a sign you're actually stirring up deep habits. Keep going. By the 3rd day, many people experience a shift. They catch negative thoughts more quickly, they respond with a calmer mind, and they feel a subtle sense of control that wasn't there before. This might not fix every issue in your life, but it lays a blueprint for how you can approach bigger obstacles later on. Section 7. Proof in adversity, when the world pushes back. Now imagine applying these new habits in real-world conflict, a stressful conversation at work, a tense argument with a loved one, or an unexpected financial setback. Before, you might have gone straight to panic or self-criticism, spiraling into, "Why me? I always mess up." But with disciplined self-talk, your mind automatically checks itself. You breathe, say, "I can handle this," or "Let me find a productive solution," and suddenly you steer the conversation differently. Here's where you might face yet another criticism. Some will accuse you of becoming emotionless or too calm. They might say you're not validating their frustration, or you're overlooking your own deeper feelings. But in reality, Stoic calm isn't emptiness. It's a focused presence. You're not ignoring the issue. You're guiding yourself away from overreaction into purposeful action. Stories from ancient Rome recount how Stoic senators held their composure even when threatened by powerful rulers. They didn't do this because they had no fear. They did it because they wouldn't let fear paralyze their judgment. In modern times, that could translate to standing firm in a difficult workplace or calmly resolving an argument at home. You still care, you still feel, but you refuse to be dominated by emotional chaos. If that makes you come off as cold to a few people, consider the alternative, a life run by every spike of anger, every wave of anxiety, and every blow to your self-esteem. Is that the kind of existence you really want? No one is suggesting you become a statue. Rather, you're training your mind to remain steady in chaos, something that, ironically, can deepen empathy because you're no longer drowning in your own drama and can finally listen to others more attentively. Section 8. Conclusion. 3 days to a new foundation. So can 3 days honestly change your entire life? Probably not in the sense of resolving every crisis, fulfilling every dream, or magically eliminating real-world barriers. But 3 days is enough time to prove that you can loosen the grip of old mental patterns. And once that door cracks open, a new question arises. If this much can shift in just 72 hours, what else can you accomplish in the months or years ahead? Remember that Stoicism isn't just about chanting, "I'm strong," and hoping the universe bends to your will. It's about understanding your role in shaping how you perceive events and then taking deliberate action from a place of calm. It's about noticing how your brain reacts to challenges and then teaching it a healthier way to respond. It's about acknowledging that some aspects of life, the weather, other people's opinions, unexpected tragedies, are beyond your control. But the most critical piece, your own mind, is entirely within your grasp. Look at the controversies, the rumors, and the critics who say Stoicism is a cold or extreme philosophy. Notice the misunderstandings too, people who wave it off as sugar-coated positivity. Now ask yourself, which side of that line do you really stand on when you test these techniques? The truth is, no matter what label we give it, you hold the power to question your own assumptions and reshape your inner world to be more resilient, more compassionate, and more prepared for life's inevitable storms. If you decide to try the 3-day experiment, be warned, it won't feel natural at first. You may slip up. You may catch yourself repeating old habits. That's okay. The real victory lies in noticing those slips and steering your mind toward better thoughts again and again. Over time, this becomes second nature, and the line between fake positivity and true mental discipline becomes crystal clear. So here's the invitation. Commit to 3 days. Just 3. Pay attention to the running script in your head. Each time you see a negative thought, respond to it with something that moves you forward instead of pushing you down. You don't have to believe it will change your life. You just have to try it and see what happens. If you do, you might discover you're stronger and more capable than you ever imagined. And that's only the beginning. If all of this resonates with you, share your perspective. Maybe you've tested Stoicism before. Maybe you're a skeptic who wants to see if it's hype. Either way, your experience can shed light on a philosophy that has endured for centuries, surviving empires, revolutions, and modern critiques. And if you find value, keep exploring. There's a vast world of Stoic practice waiting beyond these few days of mental discipline. For now, remember that the voice in your head can be your worst critic or your greatest ally. The choice belongs to you. Will you seize that power or let old habits run the show? The next 3 days might answer that question in ways you never expected.